loves. Today is going to be a story time video. As you are reading in the title, it is my scariest babysitting story time. And before we get into the video, I wanted to quickly let you guys know that this video is sponsored by Best Fiends. It's literally the cutest game in the entire world. It's really bright and colorful, kind of like my new hair. And it's just a really fun puzzle game. A lot of the times when I play other puzzles, I get really frustrated that I can only line up things that are like in a row. In this game, you can line up pretty much anything that's touching. The storyline is adorable. You guys are absolutely going to love it, so I'm going to leave a little link for you guys down below to download the game. And that's pretty much it. I just wanted to give it a little bit of love because I have been playing it and loving it recently, and I couldn't wait for like my monthly favorites or anything to tell you guys about it. So send me screenshots and stuff if you guys playing the game on Twitter and whatnot, or just let me know how you like it. Also, my hair is still blonde in the video that I'm going to show you guys. This is not a permanent dye. It's very much so like a temporary thing. It's going to wash out in I think like 5 washes. But you will see videos with the cotton candy rainbow unicorn nest coming up really soon. And yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and get to the story time, and I hope you guys like it. So many of you guys have been requesting more story time videos, and I had a friend really recently ask if I could babysit her kids for her this upcoming weekend. I taught like a Sunday school class when I was like 16 to 19. I worked in nurseries, I've done a lot of babysitting. I have a lot of experiences with kids, but I remembered this one story in particular, and it is the scariest situation I was ever in when I was babysitting, and I really wanted to talk to you guys about it because I actually think it's still one of the weirdest things that ever happened. P.S. Do you like my Sailor Moon shirt? Because I really like my Sailor Moon shirt. Like the gang's all here, Chibi Moon is like way down here. Sailor Mars is my favorite though, and she always has been. I don't know why, I just thought she was like the most badass. Anyway, so I think I was 18 when this happened. I just graduated high school and I was just making some money over the course of the summer. At the time I was already working 2 other jobs, but I was saving up for a car in college and trying to have a social life. So I had babysat for this family a couple of times, but I had only watched one of their kids at a time. So the difference this time was I was babysitting 2 of the little girls. I also had 2 boys, but they were off like doing whatever the family was doing that day. So I was watching the 2 girls, and I think one of them, the older one, was like 11. So she and I like vibed pretty well. She was really, really smart. We literally did like Sudoku and puzzles all night, and we had so much fun. And then the younger one was the troublemaker here. So she was like maybe 2 and a half at this point. We're gonna call her Emma. She was a freaking spitfire, like a girl after my own heart. She drove me crazy. She was really smart too. Like her entire family, all of those kids were so smart. She was really manipulative, and she knew exactly how to get me to do whatever she wanted. Like that night in particular, I remember I had put her down for the night. She was such a perfect little angel. When I put her down, she was just like, okay, like I'll go to sleep. You know, she seemed so tired, and it was pretty late in the night. I think it was like 9 o'clock, and that was roughly her bedtime at the time. So I was just getting her to lay down, and I thought everything was gonna be fine. So I came back out to the like kitchen area where the 11-year-old girl, who we're gonna call Bailey, was still working on puzzles at the table. And I kind of came to her. I think we were doing like a 100-piece puzzle or something like that. And we are doing our puzzles for maybe like 5 minutes. And Emma, the little, 2.5-year-old, comes wandering into the living room, looks at me, and she just bursts into tears. This kid's acting skills were on point, dude. Like, she just saw me and just burst into tears. Like, they were just going down her face. And I immediately am like, oh my God, like, what happened? I had no clue how she'd even gotten downstairs. You should also know that there was a baby monitor in her room, and that I had it on the table, and I hadn't even heard her, like, get out of bed. So she's just crying, and I'm thinking she probably had a bad dream or something, and so I'm comforting her and, just like trying to make her stop crying and trying to figure out what happened. And this kid literally grabs my face in her hands, and she's like, bad dream. Because it was like, it was broken up, words and like sentences at this point. Like she couldn't talk proper English. That I can't talk proper English. I asked what I could do to make her stop crying. I'm thinking maybe she wants me to go upstairs, like sit with her, or, whatever, until she falls back asleep. And she says Looney Tunes. And so I'm like, okay, like it's not too late, we can watch Looney Tunes. So I take her out to the living room, and I put on Looney Tunes, and I sit down on the couch with her. And it's then that I realized this kid had literally been in her bedroom for 5 minutes. Like there was no way she even fell asleep. There was no way she even had a nightmare. She just wanted to watch TV. And she's falling back asleep. So like we're cuddled up on the couch, and she's just passing out. And so I'm like, okay, well, I'll just stay in here with her for a bit. The older girl, Bailey, kind of comes into the room, and we're all just watching cartoons, and everything is fine. And suddenly, out of nowhere, Emma sits upright, like out of a dead sleep. Like this kid was snoring, and she looks around the room, and then she looks at me, and she says, he's here. And I'm thinking, of course, that this kid is like having a dream, whatever. And I'm like, who's here? Like, that's kind of funny. Who's here? She's like, he's here. And now she has a really big smile on her face. Bailey, the older girl, was like almost in tears. She was so scared. And I was just like, I was trying to keep it together because like I'm an 18-year-old girl and I feel like I should have my like shit together when I'm babysitting these two kids. And so I'm trying to keep a level head. I'm trying to remember that she has probably just had a really bad dream again, you know, if she ever had a bad one to begin with. But I'm thinking like, there's no way that this little girl knows that something is here. And we're all sitting there and it's just really quiet and I'm trying to figure out what in the world like this little girl is thinking, like who could be here? And there's a knock on the door, you guys. And Bailey screams, I scream, I scare the crap out of Emma and she starts sobbing because like she's scared because we're both screaming and I'm just like so freaked out. I'm like, is this a ghost? Is this like, what in the world is happening? No one was supposed to be home yet and I didn't want to answer the door with the girls in the house or at all, like being alone in a house in an area that I'm not 100% familiar with. Like it was down the road from me, but I didn't know exactly where I was. So I called up the family and I'm like, hey, there was just a knock at the door. Are you guys back early or is anyone here? And they said, no, like no one should be there. I would call the police is what the mom told me. And she said that she would head back our way now because she was like, are you sure there was a knock? And I was like, I'm 100% certain. Oh, and I forgot to mention, before the knock on the door, one of the reasons we were all so scared is I saw headlights coming down the driveway. That really should have been in there earlier, but I did see headlights like coming down the driveway right after Emma said he's here. And so the mom is heading back. I'm like trying to figure out whether or not to call 911 and there's a knock again. The girls are terrified. I almost keep saying her real name and like slipping up, but I wanted to ask Emma like who is here? Like I wanted to know if like her parents had said something or like I didn't think that they were lying to me or anything, but I wanted to know if someone was supposed to be coming back and I didn't want to call the police unnecessarily, essentially is what I'm getting at. And there's another knock at the door. And at this point, I'm like, okay, even if I call the police, we're in the middle of nowhere. It's going to take just as long as it's going to take their mom to get back. And I didn't even know who it was. And I felt like I couldn't call the police and be like, there's an intruder when like no one had even come into the house, right? I put on my big girl pants and I like put the girls on the couch in the living room and I closed the door behind me so that whoever's at the door, like when I go to answer it, isn't going to see them. Now, I'm not gonna just like open the door. All of the kitchen lights are off at this point, so I can kind of like go through the kitchen unseen by whoever's outside. And I was just gonna look through the peephole. I grab a kitchen knife. In hindsight, wasn't even a butcher knife, wasn't even that sharp. It was like a jagged edged knife, but it was like one step up from a butter knife. I couldn't have done any damage. And so, yeah, I was going to the kitchen or I was going to the door like armed, ready to go. And I get to the peephole and right before I look out the door, there is another knock. And I'm so close to the door at this point, you guys, that when I screamed, whoever was outside heard me and started laughing. At this point, I'm so scared. There's someone outside, like so close to me that they can hear me. And it wasn't even just like a loud, like, ah, scream. It was like kind of like a yelp, like I couldn't control it. But when I did it, the person outside started laughing and it was a male voice. And then I look out the peephole and there is no one there. There's no one outside the door. I am so scared at this point. Like at this point, it feels very real. I thought I was gonna look out the door and see like their dad or someone that I knew that would be like a definitive answer of, okay, like this is an accident. I shouldn't have been so scared. Like I can calm down now. Like no one is there, but I know for a fact someone is outside of the house. And so I run into the living room, I get the girls, and I put them in the bathroom. I don't know why I thought that would be safe. It was one of the only doors in the downstairs area that locked. I literally feel like it's that movie. Do you guys remember that movie where like, I don't remember who was in it, but the babysitter calls the cops and the killer is inside the house and has been the whole time. I felt like that. There are like so many movies like that though. I know that there's been like a million spin-offs, but one of those movies, I was the girl who was going to die. I immediately called their mom again and I'm like, someone is at the house. Where should we go? Like I just have the girls in the bathroom, where should we go? The mom was telling me that she'd be home in 5 minutes. The house was pretty securely locked. Like this was an older house, but it had really secure doors. Like you couldn't just like break down doors. I mean, not that I really tried, but all of the doors were really heavy, if that makes any sense, and the locks were pretty secure. And so she was just trying to calm me down, like telling me it was probably someone playing a prank on us. Like one of the neighborhood boys probably like saw me babysitting and just wanted to scare me or whatever. And so I'm trying really hard to like consider that as a possibility. But Then after I literally am on the phone with her for about a minute and she's trying to talk me down, there's another knock, but this time it's at the front door. So previously it was at the back door of the house where I had to go through the kitchen and stuff. This time it's at the front door, and there's a light on in like the foyer area. So I can't just like walk to the door because then I would be seen. And that's all I keep thinking about is like, whoever it is outside is gonna see me walking to them and they're gonna know that like I for sure exist, even though they pretty much for sure knew I existed because I screamed when they were outside the door. So I'm not going, like I have no balls. Like I am not going to go and answer the door to like this psychomaniac killer. And that's all I kept thinking about is this has to be someone who is literally here to kill me. Because why would they have laughed and then gone to a different door? Like, that doesn't make any sense. It was then that I realized that there's actually a side porch. So it's a completely screened in side porch in this house with a door that I had not locked. So the door into the side porch was not locked, and then the door from the side porch that led into the house was not locked. And when I realized that, I was like, I have to go and lock it or else like this person could get into the house. So I take my glorified butter knife and I am like clutching it to my chest as I walk. Like I'm literally tiptoeing through the house to the door that leads out to the side porch. And I'm not even gonna go onto the side porch. Like that is not in my mind. I'm just going to lock the door that comes into the house. So I kind of like am tiptoeing over there and I see someone moving outside from the window. And my first instinct is to just drop to the ground. And so that's what I did. Like I went like ragdoll cat mode or like one of those fainting goats. Like I just went down. It was nighttime. Like at this point, it's probably getting close to 10 o'clock. And so I can't see who it is, but I can see someone moving outside and I can see like, or I can hear like footsteps and stuff. So I'm on the ground like looking out of the door that leads to the screened porch. So I have even less of a real view of who this person is or whatever. And so all I see is this like black tall mass like moving across the lawn, and all it does is like pretty much solidify in my mind that there is a man there who is ready to kill me. I hate myself for not calling the police. I really do. Looking back on that, that was the biggest mistake that I made. I think that I thought I had never called the police before, and I thought that if this wasn't, like if I had been mistaken, I was gonna get in trouble. And the fact that that was what was on my mind is honestly awful, but it was what it was at the time, and that's what I was thinking, is that I was gonna get in trouble if like this was all a prank or something and I had called the cops. And I wish I had called the cops because this whole thing could have turned out much worse than it did. Like in a different situation, this entire story could have ended so badly, and I should have called the police. Luckily, shortly after I saw the man moving around, I then spotted on the other side of the house headlights coming down the driveway, and it meant that their mom was home, the girls that I was babysitting. And I was so relieved, but also terrified because I knew for a fact now there was someone outside. The house is super quiet, and I kind of hear her talking, and I hear a man responding. And it's really, really faint because they're talking at the opposite end of the house that I'm at. And even though I can kind of hear them because I'm so close to like the window or the door or whatever that leads out onto that screen porch, I could kind of hear it, but it was muffled. It wasn't like yelling though. The mom opens the door and she calls my name. So she opens up the back door and she calls me and she's like, everything's okay, like can you come outside? I'm still really scared and I'm thinking the worst, like what if this dude just like has her hostage and is like making her say that so I'll come outside so he can kill me. But I come outside. You guys, I don't think that you're prepared for this. It is a guy that I've been talking to for maybe like 2 months, and I had been texting him that night and he wanted to hang out. And I was like, no, I have a job, I'm babysitting, blah, blah, blah. And he was like, oh, well, I could come by. And I was like, you are absolutely insane. Like, I'm not letting you come by while I'm babysitting these 2 little girls. But he kind of knew roughly where I was babysitting them at because I had told him that it was close to my house, which he had been to. And so he just drove until he saw my car in the driveway. Let that sink into your brains that this guy did this and then thought it was funny. He thought it was funny. He was the ultimate fuckboy. I have a lot of stories about him actually. I cannot to this day believe that he did that. And I think what he said after the fact, I was so so angry. He thought that I knew it was him or whatever. Like, that was his excuse, is that he thought that I knew it was him because he had joked about it earlier, even though I said no. And so he thought like that I knew, and I was just like playing into the joke. Like, who does that? It was the scariest thing in the entire world, and I still can't believe that it happened. Honestly, it was the worst experience. I never babysat for them again. Obviously, it had nothing to do with the family. If anything, it was my fault for ever letting that guy know that I was babysitting roughly in the neighborhood where I lived. But it was just so scary, and every time that I went back to that house, because they were family friends, so we went over there frequently. Every time that I went back, like, that's all I could think about, and I never ever babysat again. The only thing that still baffles me is how Emma knew that someone was there. And what her mom told me after the fact is that their dad didn't come around a lot, and so when she saw headlights sometimes at night, I think that she always assumed it was her dad. And so that's the only thing that I can think of, is that she saw headlights before I did and assumed it was her dad, and that's why she said he's here. Because when I told her mom that, she was like, oh, well, that's what she yells whenever her dad comes to visit, is he's here, he's here. So maybe she was dreaming about her dad, or just assumed he was the one who was driving down the driveway at night. That's the only thing that I can think of to explain that, because I still think that was so weird. But there's my scariest babysitting story. I hope you guys like the story time. Make sure to subscribe to my channel using that little red button down there. I'll also link some more story time videos in the description box if you guys want to get your story time fix on. So I think that that's it. I'm gonna go ahead and go. I hope you guys have a great day, and I'll see you next time. Bye.